Hi, it's Ronnie, and welcome to Christy's Beautiful Life 30 Days of Sketches, Series 11. And for today's sketch, it was created by Brandy Joe, and it has left side, right side. It has zigzag down the middle. I have zigzag, but it'll be a little bit different. But I will have a couple layers there, and 3 photos, and the mixed media. And the long title. So yeah, I stuck to the sketch, but I added more. Now, I am using 49 and market, and it's kind of on the thick side. When I go to tear it, it's kind of hard. I remembered to use some water on it this time, so it was much easier. See my zigzag right there? It's a branding strip, and it's zigzag stitches. So it is a little bit different, but I've got like 3 things there. So I am going along with the sketch, only it's a little bit different. And these papers are actually from 3 collections, I believe. Well, some of the ephemera, everything I'm using is either Hikemore, Curator's Metal, or Naturalist. I am adding some chalk paint here, and it's called Spanish Moss. And I'm just going to add in places I thought was going to show. You will see some, just not as much as I had originally planned. The sketch has like 3 spots that looks like it splatters, or it could be the packaging technique. So I am going with the packaging technique, and I added some water to the chalk paint so that it would spread a little bit better. When you're using a brush, it just dries so quickly. You no more put it on there and it's dry. I'm going to do some stamping and some stenciling on here too. And for both of those, I'm going to be using pumice stone and rusty hinge. And this Explorer, I originally had it planned to use as part of my long title. However, by the time I get to doing the title, it's not going to be part of it. It's just going to hide there behind it and peek out. And I am going to pull out one more ink, and I believe it is Stormy Sky. Like my favorite inks of all time, the ones that I generally use. This one has a compass, and that paper there that's Hikemore has compass on it. Well, it has definitions of compasses or something on there. So I thought, well, I might as well use my stencil with a compass. And truth be told, the pictures at the end aren't exactly like the layout. I went back and added more. And so, yeah, I will be adding a compass as a die cut. This is the Talmania stencil, and I am using the rusty hinge with it and scattering it on the layout. And this is the Crackle one. And the Talmania, I think, is by Craft Treat. And this one is by Stampendous. And I am just scattering it around there with the sky blue. I can't believe I said sky blue. It is Stormy Sky. I am using a Studio Light stamp, and all it is little teeny tiny dots, a long strip of them. And I just went down that green, so because it kind of looked plain compared to the rest of the mixed media pieces, I didn't really have anything on there. I am going to make a camera. I seen it on the Spellbinders website as Die of the Month a couple of months ago, maybe, or maybe last month or something. It hadn't been very long, and it's a 3D one. And it's really cute, but, I didn't want a 3D camera. Of course, I have a few 3D dies, and you can use them on your layout and just not make them 3D. But I thought I'd make it, but I didn't go back and look at it because I didn't want to copy theirs to a T. I told myself to remember 3 layers, divided 3 in 3 sections going up the front, 3 buttons on each side, and then a big one at the top, and 2 lens looking things, a large one and a small one. And my large one's my downfall. This is why my camera ends up so big. That is from Tim Holtz Steampunk Dies, and it's a porthole actually. but I thought it would work for this. And I did want it bigger, just maybe not quite this big, but it was a guess as you go. I started to make the lenses, and then I thought, no, I'm not going to make a sample. It'll take me too long, and I need to get this layout done. So I just, after I did the lenses, just started recording it. I went ahead and used the same Creative Memories cutter that I used to cut out that black ring there, only I used a different little cutter. I used the red one so that it would be farther away, well, closer to the paper actually, that's actually left. And that way I'd have a ring on the outside, and I could kind of nestle it all around that big lens. And like I said, when I was looking at that die made up for Spellbinders, it had like sections of 3. So I have the one at the bottom, and then I have the next one up. And I am not thinking about the 3rd section until I start to adhere it down, and then, oh, I'm supposed to have another section here. This is where I remembered, I think, since I put that on there and was deciding if I was centered good enough. Yeah, I'm going to remember it. Uh, I knew I had my pieces cut too big. I wanted my camera smaller than that, and I just went ahead and left them as they were, because I decided once I started putting a few pieces on there, I would know how much I needed and didn't. So I cut off what I didn't think I needed, and now I'm going to try to put it together. Oh, here's where I remember. It has to be pretty soon. I will remember that it needs to have another section there. Apparently, I adhered in everything before I remembered. But I know I do remember it, because I remember putting it on the glass so I could go ahead and do it. But it looks fine the way it is. I was just, thinking 3 sections, and just stopped and made it into 3. I also am going to forget to put the screws. I was going to put a screw in each corner, which would be a little round circle, but I will not think of that. And I did not think of that until I did the voiceover a few minutes ago, and my computer crashed. And I remembered it then. But I didn't make it this far when, well, not my computer, my program crashed. Okay, here's what I'm looking at and thinking, oh, how hard will it be to take this off and get this done right? And I thought, oh, well, I want to do it, so I guess I'll take it off. But since it is adhered already, that made it easier. I just laid it on the glass, and it's all going to stay together, and I'm making judgment calls as where I'm going to put this. I'm going to use the same, circle cutter that I used before, so that it's have the right dimensions and curve around the way it's supposed to curve around. But I'm going to add them back to my little front here, and I will have to cut off some, because I want a gap between there to have my 3rd section. But it won't be hard to cut them off. I'm just putting it all on there so I can have a good judgment on how much to cut off. Now, watching the process video, I thought, man, I should have put that in the brown, the darker brown, in an embossing folder, so that it had some sort of texture, like maybe a leather texture, because I remember seeing some old vintage cameras that had leather on it. There might have been for hand gripping, I'm not sure, but it would have looked nice on this camera if I'd thought of it sooner. Instead, I am going to go back in there, and I am going to use that crackle stamp and add some crackling to it, so that it would look more vintage and worn. And you will see that in the photos at the end. You'll see a few things in the photos at the end, but this video is longer than usual, so I certainly didn't want to add to it. So since I only planned on adding the crackle stamp and did more, yeah, you're just going to see the pictures. I did take them again. I don't know if you noticed, but that lens that I'm fiddling with right now and adding that ring I forgot is 3-dimensional. I put the lens up against the gray part, the circle, the steampunk part, and then I added the thin foam tape so that it would be lifted up and that you could see better with the vellum. And I picked that vellum because it has sparkles of like green and look like light reflecting on the lenses. So both of them has little specks. In case you're wondering what those specks are, it is from the vellum already having the little greenish, uh, kind of hologram looking spots on it. I had cut 3 of those little tags out at the Stampin' Up! Punch and added the little black strip. So I thought on this one I'd cut out the whole tag and make it longer and put it up there at the top and add 2 strips. Well, I'm not going to like that. So I will add a wider black strip right over the top of the bottom one that's on there right now. And I am happier with it. And I started to add it to the shiny side up, but I like the texture side better, so I had to flip it over. And the other side, I guess, is going to go in the trash because it has adhesive, liquid adhesive on it already. I am using my hole reinforcer to make a little circle thing on the left-hand side. Now, I remember the camera Spellbinders die had a triangle thing there. I thought, I don't have anything triangle. Well, I have some triangle dies, but I figured they weren't that small. And they are nesting dies, so I could have made a triangle if I had them small enough. But mine are kind of on the big side. And I thought, well, I'll just use the hole reinforcer. I added some older, close to my heart hemp thread there. And now I'm just doing highlighting with a white gel pen. And I'll be done with my camera, and it is going to cover a good little area, and it's going to change the way I had it planned to lay the photos. My photos aren't going to go straight across, and my photos are bigger than the ones in the sketch. I did crop them down a little bit because I wanted to be able to mat them and put them all 3 across there. And I am putting them in a certain order because I wanted to make sure that they went in the order that they go. And the one on the left is my son, and he's not the first one up the mountain. And then Charlie, she wasn't the first one either. I believe it's Renee with the camera, but she is not in any of the photos because she's like me. She makes time to make sure she is, though. She's much better than I am at that. And then she took a picture of 3 of them looking out over the mountain, but there were more than 4 that climbed it. These just happened to be the 3 that she took photos of. My son took a few photos and my daughter-in-law took a few, but there was none other that was actually climbing. So these are the only 3 that made it on the layout. My title is, and I used a very old thicker set. It says 2012, but I got them at Big Lots, so I probably got them a couple of years later. And I only paid $2 for them. How I miss scrapbooking stuff at Big Lots. But it says it's the climb, ... and that view. And so, yeah, it definitely, that view is worth the climb. Up here on the right-hand side, there is nothing on the sketch, but y'all know I like it. So I added, and this is part of my more. And the label says Nature's Wonders, and then the little banner says Adventure. And I wanted to make sure the colors from the camera went ahead and went in there, and then I forgot to do it. I planned on doing it and forgot. So you'll have to look at the photos at the end to see what I added to use the colors over there. I am going to use a couple of these rub-ons, and the first one went right up there with that little cluster, and it just says right here. And then I'm just putting number 4 because there are 4 in the photo. And then over there by the view, it says one of a kind, and then view is right below it. So I picked the ones that went with my layout and my photos. I have some wishing bubbles, as they call them, that are in sage, and I'm going to add them to it. The first one I added was Loving Life, and it had a big, thick piece of foam on it, and one other did too, and I took them off because I didn't want them that thick and heavy and sticking up that much, and so I used double-sided tape on them instead. But the rest didn't have it, so they're just going to go straight onto the layout. And I think I'm about done with what you're going to see in the process. Like I said, there'll be a few things I'll have to explain when the photos come up. So while I'm adding these little odds and ends, I want to mention that down there below, you'll find the link, the master link to all the videos for the whole month. Well, not the whole month yet, but to the date today. But they will, by the end of the month, have bunches, and probably afterwards, because I noticed people added them afterwards, um, after she started using the master link. I am adding some like little bubble things on here. I wanted to give it a more vintage look. And so I'm adding them to the camera. But like I said, I am going to go back and use that crackle stamp to add. And I'm going to use black soot. I thought about using the dark brown, but that is pretty dark brown. So I decided to use black instead. And yeah, and I hope I remember all that I did. Well, it wasn't a whole lot, but you know, it adds up. The little stamp called that was destination. The only place that it was actually there was on the upper top part, and see the crackling on there. And so yeah, I added it, and since the stamp kind of went over, some of the light part got it too. And you can maybe see it a little better on this one. And then that destination at the top, I went ahead and I left it, but I put half a compass up there of a die cut to cover it up. And then the one that was right above the photo, well, it wasn't right above the photo. I thought I'd put one there, and it was even more crooked than the one up there at the top. The straight ones got covered up. Anyway, so I had to cover it up with the word naturalist. And then I stamped again, and I stamped right above the last photo, and it's a tiny bit crooked, but not too bad. But I left it there, and I didn't cover it up with anything. And what else did I do? Oh, I added the colors to that little cluster in a dark brown planner and the other half of the compass. But that's it. That's my layout. If you leave a comment below, I'll try to get back with you. And if you like the video and hit a thumbs up, I'd appreciate it. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, I would love to have you subscribe. And those of you already are, thank you so very, very much. And thank you all for watching my video today. I really appreciate that too. But have a happy scrappy time with that link down there below, and a happy week too. Bye.